Welcome, everybody, to Redacted on this Thursday. Great to see you here. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
And we have a very busy show for you to get to today on this Thursday. We're going to talk about the coming crash. We got some very troubling new economic data that is just out from a couple of different retail environments and from the Fed among business surveys showing that there is incredible consumer crunching right now happening. And we're going to look at this data. This is all, of course, just ahead of just a few weeks now ahead of the Fed slashing interest rates. What does this mean for the U.S. dollar? Gerald Celente from the Trends Forecast is going to be joining us here in moments to talk about all of this latest data that he dives deeply into.
Plus, Ukraine's daring offensive, I would call it a murderous rampage, which is costing thousands their lives in just a few weeks. We're going to break down what is actually happening in Ukraine, why they are shooting any kind of chances of peace in the foot, and what can be done about it, and how the United States is just not going to stop it. Apparently, they're not going to stop it. Plus, new research shows that plastic alternatives are worse for the environment than plastics themselves. We've been talking about this slowly as this research comes out, and it's hilarious and awful if you are still one of those who lives in a place that gives you paper straws, because screw paper straws.
They're the worst.
They're the worst. Can we agree that they're the worst?
Yes, they are absolutely the worst. Also, we're going to take your Super Chats today on Super Chat Thursday. Hopefully, we'll have time for that today. Hopefully, everything is good. You all good?
Yeah, we had a little bit of an echo, so I just popped it out of my ear because I don't want to hear that.
Before we get into the news today, I just want to thank all of you guys, because yesterday we had an interview with Thomas Havland on a retired Air Force Major General who, of course, has been investigating these white fibrous clots. That's a story we couldn't do here on one of these platforms. We had to carry that interview over to Rumble in order to do that yesterday. I encourage all of you guys to go and check out that interview, but Thomas just messaged me before the show and wanted to thank all of you because he got so many responses from you. We put up a QR code for people who could provide their information if they experienced a similar issue, because right now trying to get this information from the federal government and these agencies, they're blocking it. They're doing their damnedest to try to hide this information. So he just wanted to share with you guys. Thank you to the Redacted audience for sharing your stories. And look, I read a lot of your comments in the surveys that he sent me, and just horrible, just absolutely terrifying. So my heart goes out to many of you who've suffered through this in silence. Anyway, seek that interview with Thomas. It's on our Rumble channel. Make sure you check it out. So we got a lot of news to get to today, and we're going to talk about the economy here in a second. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at American Financing, because if you are stressed because your monthly income just doesn't seem to cover the bills with rising costs, rising inflation, a government that wants those things and will not help you at all. Well, most Americans are feeling this every day with their food bills, childcare, insurance, what have you. It's tough. So if you're feeling this way and you are a homeowner, then you can learn to do what wealthy people do and leverage assets you may have. That's cash that you may think is out of reach to you, but it is not. American Financing can teach you to do this with interest rates dropping. American Financing is a good company that never charges any upfront fees and teaches you how to play the wealthy game that wealthy people play. So they have salary-based mortgage consultants that are saving homeowners over $800 a month on average. So don't wait. You could even delay your mortgage payment by 1 or 2 months, which could just give you some breathing room. Imagine that. So call them at 1-866-890-8434 or visit americanfinancing.net/redacted. One more time, that's americanfinancing.net/redacted.
Well, in the past few weeks, billionaire Warren Buffett has sold billions of dollars in stock for cash. And over the past 24 hours, he's done it once again, selling 981 million shares of Bank of America. He's now sitting on $278 billion in cash. He knows a crash is coming, and so does our next guest, who's been predicting it for many, many months. He's the leading trends forecaster in America, our friend Gerald Celente, the head of the Trends Journal. He's been predicting America's trends for decades. He nailed, of course, the 2008 collapse, among other collapses, well ahead of everyone else when everyone was saying, that's just garbage. But Gerald was saying, pay attention to what's happening. And Gerald joins us now. Gerald, great to see you as always here on the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, and thank you for the kind words.
Well, your front page of the New Trends Journal is out this week, and here it is, and it shows Kamala Harris over the dead body, basically, of the Statue of Liberty. Harris selling freedom as her political gang kills freedom. But I wanted to go to page 131 of the Trends Journal, Gerald, because I want to start here. Trends in the markets. You are being scammed and robbed blind on an unimaginable scale. It's about to get much worse, you write. So let's talk about the market. How is it about to get much worse, and how are we being scammed right now?
No one hardly is talking about this at all. You just mentioned about Warren Buffett selling all those shares of Bank of America. Did you see what happened this week at the Bank of Montreal? Oh, the shares are only down 7%. Well, how come? Well, because let's see, it's in the Trends Journal this week. Today, because of its overexposure to commercial real estate, the Bank of Montreal's shares tanked some 7% as we go to press. This is just the beginning. The worst is yet to come. Commercial real estate. Let's look at the facts. Not too long ago in 2020, the politicians declared, quote, the COVID war. That's what they all called it. They called it a war. We're going to war. We're going to war. We're going to war. And just as people march off to war all the time, when they call war, they marched off to the war. What did they say? You can't go to work. Get into your house. You can't go out. Now people are staying home week after week, month after month, year after year. And they're saying to themselves, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to commute an hour and a half each way, spending all this money. I can't believe I was doing this. I'm not going to do it anymore. Now I'm the guy that has, let's say, 10 stories in a building. And I say, I got these people in cubicles. I don't see them anyway. Let them work at home. Let them come in a couple of days a week. Your office occupancy rate, according to Castle Systems with a K, is 48.8%. People aren't going back to work. And people that have the buildings that are renting them, they're not renewing their leases. You have $4 trillion worth of commercial real estate loans coming up over the next 2 years. And again, the data is all there, but nobody's reporting on it because there's going to be the office building bust that we had forecast would happen. We said this would happen, by the way, in May of 2020. No one's talking about it because the banks are going to go bust. There's going to be massive defaults on loans. And let's go back. Tracking trends is an understanding of how we got here, where we are, and where we're going. And the current events form the future trends. So let's go back to 2020. Don't worry about it. You don't have to go to work. Here's free money. We're going to bring those interest rates down to zero and pump in trillions of dollars of fake money backed by nothing and printed on nothing. So here's the deal. The banks got all that dough as people were staying at home and putting their money in the banks. And what did they do? They bought treasuries. Oh, when interest rates were down at zero? And now they have all these defaults coming in on bank loans, on office building loans that no one is talking about, that they're not going to be able to cover. Why do you think the Bank of Montreal stock went down? Why do you think Buffett is bailing out? We are going to have a banking bust crisis, the likes of which we've never seen in the history of the world, part one or part two.
And these small regional banks are going to be the ones that get hit first. They're the ones holding a lot of these commercial loans. So the small regional banks that are defaulting and being gobbled up. Not a week goes by, Gerald, as you know, where these small banks aren't being gobbled up by the big guys.
That's right. Oh, you could thank, the crime syndicate, the Bill Clinton, remember the Glass-Steagall Act one, and one after another. Right. And they did away with the Glass-Steagall Act, Robbins-Patman Act, Sherman Antitrust Act, Clayton Antitrust Act. All we are plantation workers of Slavelandia. The robber barons own the country. One of the covers of the Trends Journal, got no money, got no cash, can't run for office. Robber barons are in control, basically. So now let's go back to the office building bust. In 2006, you worked in New York, and this isn't far from where you used to be, on 135 West 50th Street, Midtown. A building that sold for $332 million in 2006 went up for auction 3 weeks ago. They sold for $8.5 million.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
This is Midtown. So the building is in the middle of the street, right? The buildings that they built in the last 50 years are non-convertible to housing. They're empty spaces. So now the building's in the middle of the street. You got no back, you got no sides. All you got is a front. You can't convert this into housing. That's why it went for $8.5 million, and that's everywhere. You're looking at an office vacancy rate. Nobody there. In San Francisco, almost 35%. Before the COVID war, it was 3.5%. Your office vacancy rate in the largest cities in America, 24%. Vacant. So now there's going to be huge defaults. Nobody's talking about this. And again, why do you think gold prices are going up? It was one of our top trends for 2024. Golden year for gold. Gold prices have only gone up about $500 an ounce since we made that forecast. Again, going back to what Buffett is doing. I mean, the guy's the pro of pros in the business, and he's selling out of the banking system. The banksters are going to go bust. And even the big ones, by the way. The JP Morgan Chase gang, one after another. I call them a gang because they're convicted, of 5 felonies? 5 felonies, one of them rigging the precious metals market. They got fined the grand total of $900 million in 2019. They don't go to jail, by the way. No. They're like a slap on the wrist. It's persecution to the fullest for we the little people and a slap on the wrist for the gang running the show.
Now, I know you're a huge fan of the Fed. You're a huge fan of Jerome Powell. A big piece of the Trends Journal this week, and I really wanted to get into this because I think this is going to affect everyone watching our show right now. What happens with these rate cuts in the fall? Obviously, inflation up. They had to revise those job numbers, those fake and phony jobs numbers that the Biden and Harris administration were pushing out there about a strong labor market. So we know that it's not a strong labor market. But also, we now know that the time, as you write, the time has come for Powell in the fall here with these interest rate cuts. What do you see happening? What is your prognostication here, your trends forecasting for the fall of 2024 into the new year of 2025 for the American people?
Well, for the American people, life is just going to keep getting worse. Again, the bigs on everything. One of the columns we have every week, big's getting bigger, and we show all the M&A, merger and acquisition activity. Going back to Powell, this is the clown boy along with Janet Yellen, the former Fed head that's now our Treasury Secretary, that said there's no inflation, it's only temporary. No, it's only transitory. And now in this new world, we could call it transgendatory. Let's really be stupid about it. So now they're going to cut interest rates, and the big bait, again, we thought they would cut them earlier. And again, going back to Yellen, she's our Treasury Secretary. What was her last job? She was the Fed head. You mean the Fed head's our Treasury Secretary? They want to keep the people in power in power. Simple as that. They're running the show right in front of your eyes. They're going to lower interest rates and do everything they can to boost up the economy. Everything. And when they lower interest rates, inflation is going to start going back up, but also the lower interest rates fall, the deeper the dollar declines. The dollar's only high because of the high interest rates. I mean, you talk about it all the time. The debt levels that the United States has, what is it, like every 100 days it's increasing $1 trillion?
Right.
They're going to artificially prop up the economy in the run-up to the presidential reality show in November. They're going to do everything they can. So again, the deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices go. Gold prices could go to $3,000 an ounce this year, because the other big issues to look at is the ramping up of the Ukraine war and the Israel war. And that's why people are going to safe haven assets. And again, as you well know, there are no advertisements in the Trends Journal. We don't give financial advice. So nobody's telling us what to say or what to do. We're giving the facts and the implications and the forecasts. So These wars, people, yeah, the major stories.
Are we heading for World War III? I mean, we keep saying it. It's already begun. So that's what our audience says. Like, I say it all the time. When you have Americans who are literally dying in Ukraine, and they are, and we're hearing that now from former CIA agents, that's the case, and you have Americans dying in Gaza, you have half of the U.S. Navy in the Middle East right now. How is this not in the middle of a world war?
Again, the people don't have a clue of what's going on. This is from, again, when you subscribe to the Trends Journal and you put in your code, it's cost about $2.50 a week. This is the weekend edition of the Wall Street Journal. $6. Loss in 15 minutes. Tragedy in the Mediterranean. The masts seem to tilt, then disappear. Prosecutors look into possible criminal negligence in the sinking of Mike Lynch's yacht. What the hell do I care about this crap? Who the hell is Mike Lynch? If your mother dies, your father dies, your sister dies, your brother dies, who gives a damn? Oh no, but Mike Lynch died, and it's every damn day in the news for over a week. The people don't have a clue of what's going on. Again, we did this whole thing in our Trends Journal this week about how they kept going on and on with the stories. I'm not making this up. Lost in 15 minutes, tragedy in the Mediterranean, Wall Street Journal. Divers recovers seventh body, Financial Times. Italian authorities open manslaughter investigation into super yacht, CNN, the Cartoon News Network. U.S. tech tycoon among 6 missing after yacht sinks, BBC. Bullshit. Yeah. From August 19th to August 25th. All right, The people have no clue of what's going on. All they're getting are sound bites from the prostitutes, the media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and their government whoremasters. Go to your Trends Journal. We've been warning now for a little over a year. Ukraine is going to strike a Russian nuclear power plant.
And there it did. There it did.
Happened. Yep.
It just happened. And we now know, and according to the Trends Journal, that there are going to be deeper attacks inside of Russia at the hands of the Ukrainians. That is coming. Zelensky puts out his fake peace plan. They're agitating towards a war with Iran right now. So all of this is coming to fruition right now as we head into the 2024 election.
Yeah. And again, I'm having a peace rally up here in Kingston. I'm having Judge Napolitano, Scott Ritter, Max Blumenthal, Anya Parentville, and others. I'm fighting for peace. I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. Again, you mentioned my trend forecast, and I made my name when I called the 1987 stock market crash, the dot-com bust, the Asian currency crisis, but other things, from bottled water trends to clean food. The New York Times, I coined that term, so on and on. I mean, we're looking at the whole world over here. We're going to, this is serious stuff. Again, Israel's going to keep ramping up this war. You read the op-ed piece in Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, this past Sunday, by top guys in Israel, warning that Israel is going to destroy itself by ramping up these wars. Again, you don't have to be a rocket science to figure this out. What are there, not about 9 million people living in Israel and 91 million up in Iran? I mean, these are the Persians. They're not, these are very advanced society. This war goes, they keep attacking and shooting things into Iran. This thing is going to escalate. And as you pointed out, the United States has all these ships that they're bringing in there, these aircraft carriers, and one after another. And that little clown Kirby, the mouthpiece, came out for the United States, said the United States is going to defend Israel if Iran attacks.
So Americans being used as cannon fodder. It's exactly what's going to happen.
And again, this is none of my business. Here, It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliance with any portion of the foreign world. The nation which indulges toward another in an habitual hatred or an habitual fondness is in some degree a slave. Is a slave to its animosity or to its affection. That's George Washington's farewell address.
Right.
And now you got these little clown boys that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. There's a real guy that fought, saying we got to get involved in all these wars. You want to go over there and go support the war? Go over there and fight. Go over there. This clown, Lindsey Graham. They keep this little boy over and over and over again. We have to do to Iran this and that. This guy couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. One after another. So anyway, this is very serious. There's going to be a
very
false
serious
flag event that's going to get us into this.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. A false flag event. You're predicting a false flag event. We've been predicting it here on the show. We don't run the Trends Journal, but we've been saying they're going to use a false flag in order to drag us into a war with Iran. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
Whether it's a USS Liberty style attack or something else. Why is half of the American Navy right now positioned in the Middle East? Half. They're all sitting ducks. They're waiting for a false flag attack in order for us to be dragged into this war. And it'll probably happen. I'm no trends forecaster, but it'll probably happen before the election. What do you want to bet? I'll bet you.
Yep.
I'll bet you, Gerald.
Yep. And there's something else, too. I think that there's a good opportunity that Biden is going to say, that I'm not feeling very well, and we're going to turn the presidency over to Kamala Harris. So now she'll be running as president.
Yes.
And here, I didn't know this until 2 years ago. As I always say, when all else fails, they take you to war. What followed the Great Depression? World War II. What followed the dot-com bust? The War on Terror. You could Google this up. Franklin Roosevelt seizes Japanese assets. This is what comes up. Mainstream news, history, today. You ready? On July 26th, again, false flag event. On July 26th, President Franklin Roosevelt seizes all Japanese assets in the United States. You know why? Those dirty Japanese, in retaliation for the Japanese occupation of French Indochina. Wait a minute. What the hell are the French doing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and you got the nerve to call it French Indochina? You're robbing their rubber, their tin, rape, pillage, stealing. How dare those Japanese go in there? You read the article, along with the United Kingdom and the Dutch and the United States, they cut off 88% of Japan's oil. They only import 100%, and 3/4 of their global trade. Can't understand why they bombed Pearl Harbor. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and we pretend we didn't know about Pearl Harbor well ahead of time. Talk about another false flag.
Exactly.
Talk about another false flag. Gerald, thank you for dropping truth bombs on us as always. Our audience loves you. I love you. I think what you guys do at the Trends Journal is very important, and one of the few like our show who is anti-war and pro-peace. And that's why they're trying to silence us. That's why they're trying to silence you. That's why they go out of their way to try to keep you down because of the mainstream. So, by the way, you guys have a 10% thing for our audience, I think. If they go to trendsjournal.com/redacted, you guys have been kind enough to give our audience, if they want to sign up for the Trends Journal, 10% off. So thank you. Use our coupon code trendsjournal.com/redacted. I'm telling you, it's must read every week. And again, it's like almost 217 pages is the current Trends Journal. And you're going to get actual news, real information, real forecasts, the likes of which you won't get from like the Wall Street Journal and the other garbage media out there. So Gerald, as always, thank you so much. And when is the big event, the pro-peace event in Kingston, New York, that people want to go and attend?
September 28th. And you go to Occupy Peace, occupypeace.com for more information. I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. If we don't have peace on earth, it's going to be hell on earth. We got maniacs in charge. These guys are out of their mind, and women. Look at Kamala Harris's DNC speech. I'm supporting Ukraine. Israel has a right to defend itself and we'll be there behind it. Yeah, on and on and on. They're warmongers. How about the crap they used to spew out? If only women were in charge. Oh, yeah,
Right.
Hillary Clinton, when they said Gaddafi died, we came, we saw he died. Yeah, Madeline, not all that bright, asked on 60 Minutes, is the price of 500,000 Iraqi children under the age of 5 dead because of what Bill Clinton did worth the price? Yes, it is. Anyway, it's the human spirit, and we have to bring back that high human spirit, and it's up to everybody to do it. United we stand, divided we die. It's up to you.
My guest has been Gerald Celente, head of the Trends Journal. Again, check out trendsjournal.com/redacted. It's must read. It's a must read every week. Great information. Gerald, thank you as always. Great to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gerald. Appreciate it as always. All right, we've got more news to get to here on the show. And what do you think about women? There's always that talk about women being in charge. Like, wait until the women are in charge.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's funny. What he said there right at the end. I think it was yesterday. I read an article that after Bill Clinton's affair and all of the deal with Congress, that Hillary would not speak to him until he agreed to bomb Syria. That was like the mea culpa.
That was their equivalent of flowers.
Right. They're like,
exactly.
Honey, I'll only talk to you if you kill a lot of innocent people. That's how evil Hillary Clinton is.
Like I said, it's not something I have like a verified fact, but it was something I read yesterday. So it's funny that he just brought that up. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That just plays right into that article I read yesterday.
Yeah, I always enjoy these memes of if women were in charge, we wouldn't have these massive wars, we wouldn't have these massive debt. But the women that are in charge at the Democratic Party, specifically Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, I guess I could go on, Victoria Nuland, are the biggest warmongers, and they've caused the most destruction. So that sort of takes the bottom out of that argument.
Well, to Gerald's point, Madeleine Albright, think about Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
Give me a break. So look, let's like put that to the side from now on. There's been plenty of women who've been in charge, and they've been as equally warmongerish, if not more so, than the men.
So we should agree, gender does not have much to do with it here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got more news to get to here on your Thursday. Ukraine is launching a daring offensive, according to Vladimir Zelensky. This all comes, of course, as the Donbass, the Russian army, has now pushed through and the front line has collapsed on the Ukrainian side. So you're going to hear a lot of propaganda from the U.S. State Department and from the Ukrainian government, and we'll see if we get a lot of propaganda from the Russian side as well. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at GDR Labs, because look, right now, a lot of people suffer from a lot of permanent pain, chronic pain that's been really debilitating them for many, many years. And that's where the big problem is, of course, though, it's usually filled drugs and it causes a massive amount of addiction, right? Well, that's where Clint Winters comes in. He's the pioneering medical scientist who has developed Canolidine, the 100% drug-free way to get full-body pain relief without dangerous pills. As you read this right now, Canolidine has become the go-to pain reliever for over 1 million Americans and hundreds of professional athletes, including the UFC. It's the official pain reliever of the UFC. No drugs. No drugs, it's all natural. And as he explains, Canolidine, as Clint explains, it's the only compound on earth that optimizes your body's natural painkillers called endorphins at any age. When taken daily, your body will fire back to relieving pain like you are in your prime, back in no time. Like in your 20s or so, when you didn't really feel any pain at all, then you're in your 50s and 60s, you're like, oh, my back, constantly, my neck, joints, all of it. And you can feel great and feel renewed. Anyway, the best part is right now, you can try it for less than $1 a day. It's nature's morphine. That's right. Just go to trykano.com/redacted. It's the 100% drug-free Canolidine. Again, it's trykano.com/redacted. For less than $1 a day, you can give it a try and see if it's a fit for you. You have nothing to lose. And the best part is there's no addiction, there's no drugs. It's all natural. So thanks to Clint for supporting the show.
Well, Ukraine is complaining that they are being leashed by the U.S. government. If only the U.S. would let them launch a full-scale attack inside Russia, they could get this show on the road and win, so they say. This is a lie. They are not going to win, nor should they. Here is a reminder of the context that the media will not give you. Ukraine has been attacking the Donbas region since 2014, killing civilians and torturing specifically ethnic Russians. In 2022, 5 mayors from those regions asked Russia to come in and protect them from increased attacks that were funded by the International Monetary Fund and the United States. Russia came in and held the line, and the people in those regions voted to leave Ukraine and become a part of Russia for obvious reasons. Because why stay a part of a government that's bombing you? Now, Ukraine has not been able to regain any of that territory because they keep throwing innocent and untrained lives at Russia's line. Here is a map at how far they've come in 14 months of a so-called offensive. From the dark gray and east is the contested regions that want to join Russia. The red is the area that currently Russia controls that Ukraine wants back. Now, the map on the left is where they started the offensive, June 1st, 2023. And you can see that they've gained no territory from the current map. In fact, they've lost territory because that red continues to spread as Russia continues to gain more ground. But also, they're not even trying. So if you look at the blue dots is where Ukraine's army is launching offensive. In June, they were at least trying. You see where the blue dots are? They were at least trying to fight for that contested area. As of this month, all of Ukraine's attacks are outside of this region. Instead of trying to gain back land, they're just attacking Russia directly. This is called the Kursk Offensive. It began on August 6th, but really, Ukraine has been moving out of the contested region and just attacking Russia, just basically poking the bear. They're not fighting for their land at all. They're just provoking Russia. And yet today, the Associated Press calls this a daring ground offensive that has taken the fight to Russia as if it's glorified. This pissed me right off. I wouldn't say it's daring. I would say it's cowardly and suicidal. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said that the biggest problem here is that the West doesn't want an escalation with Russia. Is that a problem? I would say that's because we are sane and want to live. You would think their biggest problem would be all the needless death for a pointless war and their inability to replenish a dwindling and untrained military. Instead, they see it as a problem that they can't keep all that going, can't keep this party going. He says, ever since the beginning of the large-scale invasion, the biggest problem Ukraine has been facing is the domination of the concept of escalation in the decision-making process among our partners. So basically, they're scared of a war with Russia, so we can't really throw the party that we want. It's like the super in the building is telling them to keep it down, but they want to throw a rager. Now, who in their right minds would want an escalation with Russia, except neocons? President Biden has repeatedly promised the American people that this would not happen. There's nothing daring about this. Now, here's a reminder, though, that Ukraine could have stopped this a long time ago. Number one, by not attacking the Donbas. Number two, they could have agreed to the peace agreements that they had in 2022 before Boris Johnson and his minions talked him out of it. They could have gone to peace talks ever since. Just this week, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said at a news conference that Russia has been offering to go to peace talks all along. And that is true. We have covered it repeatedly when the Russian government comes out and says, how about some peace talks? We're willing to go to some peace talks. They're not willing to go to peace talks that involves them giving up that land because those people voted to go to Russia, to join Russia, and those people are unsafe under Ukraine. So now Ukraine is playing dirty, and Russia is not willing to negotiate, or so they say, because of this Kursk offensive. Here's what that offensive has cost with nothing gained. It says Ukrainian forces have started this major attack on August 6th. Missile warnings have been issued repeatedly in the region. The government declared a federal level emergency. Residents being evacuated to safer places. Along the Russian, according to the Russian Emergency Situation Ministry, a total of 197 temporary accommodation centers are being opened in 28 regions, housing more than 11,500 people, including 3,500 children. These are civilians. This is not a military battle. This is Ukraine attacking civilians, which they always accuse Russia of doing it, but they're doing it right in front of our very eyes. And the United States is like, stop it. Don't do that.
Please wait. Don't go. Please wait.
You shouldn't be doing that.
You shouldn't kill civilians. United States is very strong in our commitment to not kill civilians.
Yes. But look how many Ukrainian servicemen, and I hate to, if we could put this screen back up, I hate to even call them Ukrainian servicemen because most of them are kidnapped civilians. They're not trained for this. These are innocent Ukrainian lives fighting a battle they have no business being at, but 7,000 of them have been lost, 74 tanks. And the Russian army continues to destroy Ukrainian formations, they say, and they're just going to keep going. So no, Associated Press, this is not a daring offensive. This is murderous and also dangerous and awful. So F you for glorifying that. Ukraine has totally lost the ability to attack that region without consequence. And so they lost it, what they've been doing since 2014. So the daring thing would be to admit that and go to peace talks. But I guess the Associated Press likes the bloodlust.
Of course they do. That's how they make their money. And they are a mouthpiece of the intelligence state. I mean, the Associated Press is a mouthpiece of the CIA, of course, and they're an offshoot. Actually, they're a cutout of the CIA, just like the BBC is a cutout of MI6. So, of course, they want this.
Yeah.
They are fueled by this. And, of course, we have openly pointed out the lies from the Associated Press on maternity ward, the maternity hospital story. I mean, the list is pretty endless in Ukraine for the lies being told by the Associated Press.
Yeah. So that pissed me right off. Let me know what you think of that. We at least know the truth about the war in Ukraine. Hopefully, we have a vote for ending this conflict. But I don't know. Let us know what you think that can be done about it. At the very least, tell your representatives you do not support continued support of the Ukrainian corrupt government.
Yeah.
So, what?
No, I was going to say we got a lot more news to get to here and a lot of good chat, chats going on right now. Thank you, Tim says Redacted speaks the truth. We do. We don't have any. What's the word? What's the idiom? Horses in this race? Any
dog in this fight?
Dog in the hunt? We don't have. Yeah. So we'll call them out. Let's see. And Guestberry in our Rumble chat says, yes, the CIA runs Ukraine. CIA runs Ukraine. Yes, they do. They have multiple field offices there. And of course, they created and fomented the 2014 coup there as well. So, all right. Hey, coming up, we're going to talk about this great plastic scam. Remember, they told you, hey, plastic straws are killing sea turtles and plastic is terrible for the environment. We got to get rid of all the plastic bags all over the country. Well, some startling new data that's going to piss off those environmentalists. We'll tell you about that coming up in just a moment. But first,
we want to tell you about our friends over at Lear Capital, because I know we talk about gold a lot on this show, but silver is also recently a fantastic investment. It doesn't get the news or coverage that gold does. It's maybe the less sexy of the two, but many financial experts believe silver is the best kept secret in investing. And in fact, Clayton and I have just put some in our IRA, and that's something that Lear Capital has helped us to do. So you think, okay, I'd like to have some of this, but I don't actually need it in my house. So what is a safe way to invest in this when I have maybe some retirement funds that I do not want to put in the stock market for obvious reasons, because I don't want to partner with the government to manipulate and pervert natural market forces. So this is why it's a great way to invest inside your IRA in precious metals. So Lear can help you set up the right type of account that can do that, and they walk you through it every step of the way. Like I said, we did this recently and it was fantastic. So see if you can, maybe this can work for you. And in fact, silver just moved to above $30 an ounce. It's going to record highs, so don't wait. So go to LearRedacted.com or give them a call. It's 800 1-800-613-3557. Again, or go to learredacted.com. Why, I ask you, are societies shifting away from plastics for, say, straws or takeout bags or food or packaging of things in the grocery store? Because it's better for the environment, right? That's what progressive governments tell us. No plastic bags, no spoons, no straws. We got to use plastic alternatives because of the great plastic reef in the ocean, they say. Plastics are made from fossil fuels, and that's bad. It's increasing carbon emissions, even though no environmentalists have been, or scientists have been able to prove that humans are causing global warming or that increased emissions are causing global warming. No models agree in that. But okay, so plastics, right? Only a new study shows that replacing plastics with alternatives would be, quote, worse for greenhouse gas emissions in most cases, meaning plastic is actually the best thing we've got. We're demonizing it for no reason if you run the models on the alternatives. Now, we don't live in a society, like once I read Morrissey's autobiography, which was a weird book, and he talks about how he would go down to like the fish and chip shop with a plate, and then they'd put a dish towel over it and then walk back home. We don't do that anymore. We don't really live in a society like that. Our society is, in fact, shaped by plastics. What researchers did was consider plastic alternatives and how they would create emissions from production, transportation, use, end-of-life disposal, including landfill, incineration, recycling, and reuse. So they take all of that and they calculate the product life cycle. They found that plastic products release 10 to 90% fewer emissions than plausible alternatives. Plausible here. We're not saying your grandma's going to knit something that can then transport food. Like, what can actually be put into use in our society? Well, why? Because plastics are easy to make, easy to dispose of, and light to ship. Here is a chart, and this will not be easy for you to see, but I showed you where you can find this for yourself. So what it shows is they compare plastic packaging to things like food, soap, milk, meat, furniture, clothes, carpet, to alternatives, viable alternatives like paper, steel, cotton, wool, copper, fiberglass, and concrete. In every single case, they find that plastic has the lowest carbon footprint. In only one case did they find that a plastic alternative would be favorable for carbon output, and that was industrial drums. That means steel drums like this right here are actually better than plastic drums like this. So for things that you might fill into there, well, the reason is that steel drums, even though they're heavier to transport, they have a 10-year lifespan. So that's better than these 5-year lifespans of the plastic drums. So it stands to reason. So didn't we already have some clues that plastic may be better for the environment than things that people just say, yes, paper is better? We did already, because this California study showed that once California banned plastic bags, carbon emissions went up due to the energy needed to produce more paper bags. And also people were using more big trash bags when they don't have the small carryout bags for trash. So, okay. There has been data about this all along if we bothered to look. What about the Great Plastic Reef? Well, a few things. Most of that is fishing material, so it's not really on the consumer. And yes, that industry should clean that up, absolutely. But also, given that the U.S. doesn't recycle plastic and China does, China recycles their own but doesn't take ours anymore. The biggest problem with plastic waste actually comes from low-income countries, because in the United States, we can just burn it up and it's not a problem. And that's usually what does happen. Low-income countries only collect about 50% of their trash. The rest just gets blown out into the earth. So if countries improve their GDP, they get better waste collection, and plastics are either properly recycled or burned up in the incinerators. So that is where that problem lies, not in your Starbucks takeout. Okay, but what about the toxic effect? We're told that plastics are toxic on the body because they release chemicals that act as endocrine disruptors because your body perceives them as a hormone. Well, that myth was busted recently when Belgian researchers tested 39 brands of straws for forever chemicals that take a long time to process out of your body, they found that those chemicals were much more prominent in straws made from paper or bamboo and more likely to be found in paper straws. So if you look at this chart, all of these like bars full of chemicals that can get into your body, you look along the top, are in paper, glass, bamboo. And there is some in plastics, but so much less than these paper straws. That's why when we go someplace and my kids get like a paper boba straw, disgusting, I'm like, nope, you're not using that. Because they are literally just getting a big spoonful of forever chemicals.
Did you also know, I mean, it was interesting because someone in the chat pointed this out and I had heard this and I just wanted to confirm it, that paper straws predate plastic straws. That we had paper straws. They were terrible. They were initially made from manila paper, and so people would drink their stuff in the late 1800s, and it would taste like grass.
I did not.
So they're
know
like,
this.
I don't want this. So we got away from it because it was terrible.
Yeah.
And we had plastics.
Right.
And then we go back to terrible
Well,
again.
the reason for that is there's actually been a lot of innovation in plastics, so it leaches far less. And so sort of the market economy is already taking care of that, but we've already decided to demonize it. So we're making it worse on ourselves because society is idiotic. So, again, I thought plastics were the worst, but what if they're not? But what if they do end up in the ocean? Isn't that enough of a reason to stop using plastics? Well, if that were true, yes, but guess what? We don't know because between 2007 and 2013, scientists took boats around 680 times to measure plastic in the ocean. And guess what they found? It's that they found that less than 0.1% of plastics produced in the world end up in the sea. So we think, oh my God, all this plastic is produced and it's all ending up in the sea. No, because if you quantify all that's produced, which is a ton and a ton, only 0.1% of that ends up in the sea. And again, we talked about how it's mostly fishing gear. But what about microplastics? Because Oxford University told us that the amount of microplastics would go up and up and up by 2050. Well, in the 2014 study, they also found that 100 times less microplastics were found than expected. So where does it all go? Well, it turns out larger plastics get broken down into small particles digested by sea life, and they sink into fecal pellets, which isn't good for animals at all. But a lot of it could also dissolve by the sun before it ever gets to the animals. And in fact, in 2019, researchers found that they could simulate plastics before being broken down into carbon dioxide and dissolving as organic carbon. So we don't have a lot of research that plastic is bad for the earth or bad for our bodies or bad for the sea, but we're spending all of this time and effort writing legislation to take it out of our lives when we may in fact be doing worse. That's why videos like this are all over the internet. So this guy's saying, me drinking from my flaccid paper straw while Taylor Swift uses a private jet to go to Starbucks. There's a lot of this on the internet. So
They're awful.
yeah.
They really
So
are
next
awful.
time someone offers you something paper or you turn your nose up at something plastic because you think you're supposed to, this has really changed how I am too. I'm like, no, get the plastic straw to my kids rather than the paper one.
Well, and I also wonder if we're going to have a backlash against the lack of paper bags, because there's a bunch of cities, there's a bunch of states that have now banned plastic bags, and you've got to pay, or you can pay 10 cents or whatever to get a plastic bag and all this BS.
I don't mind reusing my bags. That doesn't bother me at all, but I also am no longer one of those who demonizes plastic bags either.
Right. Well, it's like the old George Carlin joke, right? You mean the Earth has been through, massive hurricanes and volcanoes and the dinosaurs and asteroids, meteors, and you mean to tell me that a couple of plastic bags are going to end the Earth? Yeah, sure.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
But, I was a plastic idiot for a long time. I really tortured my mother-in-law when the kids were little about using plastics. And so.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Even those plastic.
Tyrant.
Like my sister-in-law would bring these plastic things to place on the table so the babies could make a mess there. And I was like, oh, the plastics. Like, what a dummy I was.
But hey, we all grow, right?
Yeah.
So you can see the evolution right before you.
One of those paper straws.
I just went along with it as a good husband. I just was like, plastics.
Right. Keep that
Those
away from
paper
the
straws
baby.
to me are like fingers on the chalkboard because they like stick to your lips and stuff.
Yeah.
I can't stand that.
Yeah.
So every time I get a
Right.
paper straw, I'm like, no. But I carry a metal straw with a filter in my car, so
Yeah.
it's rewashable and stuff, and I use
So you
that as
can-
much as I can.
So you can drink out of puddles and stuff.
If I wanted to, yeah.
Oh yeah, you're supposed to be able to. We
What
have
is the
those
one?
too.
The life straw.
anybody
The life
can.
straw. Right.
Anybody can drink out of a puddle.
Yeah,
It's just
I mean, you
whether
could do
or not
that with
you
a
should.
paper straw if you wanted.
David's like, I'm often thirsty while I'm doing a road trip, and I see a puddle. I've got my straw. Just pop right out and use it.
You're
on my
supposedly
hazard
able
lights,
to even
pull
drink
over.
your own pee with those. But
Yeah, Bear Grylls style.
Yeah, Bear's Grill or whatever, drinking his own. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw somebody in the chat saying, I don't use the straws near my kids. I keep those plastic straws away from my kids as well. So there's still a lot of people that are kind of
well, no, you saw the chart. It's stainless steel. I thought, a lot
Stainless
of
steel is what, the best?
the best. Yeah. Carry those. I've got those as well. And also, my mother-in-law got really scandalized by those too, because she's like, "This is a baby. And
You're
that's
gonna give him a metal straw?"
And I was like, "Yes, I am."
the coddling of children. Give them just a couple of shards of glass.
Give them a whiskey. Yeah.
See how those kids can handle it. All right. We've let's see if we got some super chats here on your Thursday and any kind of Rumble rants we want to get to here in a second. But first, we've all been keeping an eye on the rising global tensions, whether it's Russia, China, unpredictable rogue states, nuclear threats feel more real than they have been in decades. While you've probably been stocking up on basics like food, water, and first aid, there's one thing most people overlook. It's a way to protect yourself from radiation. That's where Gardasil comes in. Now, it's approved by the FDA in 2003. And guess what? This is amazing. It was stockpiled by the U.S. government's Strategic National Stockpile. The United States government went out of their way to get Gardasil. They stockpiled it. And this isn't your typical prep item. And it's the only FDA-approved treatment for radiation exposure that works by trapping harmful radioactive materials so your body can then safely flush them out of your body. And thanks to Rumble, our friends at Rumble, this government stockpile item is now available for your home. And I had a meeting with Rumble earlier this week about how long it took them to get access to this, because the United States government basically bought up most of it, but Rumble was actually able to get their hands on some. Rumble's Radiation Emergency Kit gives you access to this critical treatment along with potassium iodide to protect your thyroid, Zofran to keep you functional, and a Geiger counter to monitor exposure in your house or neighborhood. Head over to 5gfree.com. That's the website, the numeral 5G, 5gfree.com/redacted. Get 15% off. Because when things go sideways, you'll want the real tools on hand, not just the basics. And why, by the way, does the federal government have the stockpile, right? Do we really believe they're going to be able to handle that and hand it out to everyone so quickly and easily and effortlessly? So get your own. Keep it in your house right now. Head on over to 5gfree.com. Use that code redacted to get 15% off at checkout. So we thank them for their support. All right, let's see. Any kind of top chats here on our Thursday? Thank you.
While you're getting in super chats, I will remind you that Monday is a holiday. It's the Labor Day weekend, and so we will not have a live broadcast, but we will be back on Tuesday, and we'll have content for you all throughout the weekend. So stay subscribed to the channel, please. Tell your friends about it. Everything like that. Just want to let you know.
Yes, thank you for subscribing to the channel. By the way, I should point out we've got our Redacted Plus, our community, and we have a big interview coming up tomorrow for Redacted Plus members. So you guys will have access to that first if you're a member of the Redacted Plus community. Again, you can sign up for the price of a cup of coffee once a month if you want to. Just go to redacted.inc and you can join there. So that will be released to Redacted members. You'll get to see this incredible conversation on the biopharmaceutical complex. It's eye-opening. Some really jaw-dropping details in this interview that I want you to check out. So do that. All right, let's see. Lawman Land gifted a Redacted membership. Thank you so much for gifting that out to people. All right, Gooey Loves Stew. Thank you for your $10 super chat. Says, better alternative to these plastic straws is hemp plastic and hemp paper for bags. It's more biodegradable, would help with deforestation, lower carbon emissions. Added benefit is hemp is very resilient and easy to grow.
That's
Thank you for
interesting.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to make rope and everything out of it, and then it got demonized, and
Well,
they
that's
stopped
thanks to
using it.
DuPont. That was all
DuPont.
DuPont.
Oh,
DuPont.
DuPont demonized it, huh?
When they
didn't
came
know
up with
that.
the nylon, I think it was, and when they started making nylon rope, and then they
Right.
pushed they lobbied Congress to demonize hemp, and that's where that came from.
Same thing
Wow. I didn't know that.
Same thing about chemotherapy. Man, that's sort of the next thing happening with chemotherapy drugs and the cancer. Anyway, we won't get into that at the moment, but the developments for ending cancer and why of course the biopharmaceutical complex doesn't want you to know about it.
I want to say thank you to Miss Stacy Lynn for the $10 Rumble rant and the birthday wish, saying, I hope you had a great birthday. I did. Thank you so much. And thank you for remembering. I'm flattered.
Golden Prospector Milo, thank you for your super chat. Says, I'm a geologist, a prospector in the exploration industry. How do you think the coming market crash will impact the junior exploration companies? I'm working on a video on that right now, actually, for this weekend, because I think there's a bunch of things. Great question. I think it's actually going to, personally, this is my personal opinion, I believe that it'll be a boon to a lot of these junior producers, because right now you're going to see the slashing of interest rates in September, right? The Fed is about to slash interest rates. Jerome Powell told us as such. They're about to pivot on this. You saw today, so we're having interest rates being slashed, right? That means that there will be a run away from the US dollar in the coming weeks. All of that money that's sitting in money market accounts right now is a new record, $6.2 trillion in the money market right now. What's going to happen when people start dumping US dollars? When you dump money market accounts, that's US dollars being dumped, right? You're going to be flooding the market, already an oversaturated market with US dollars. Kamala Harris wants to print more money. So I think you're going to see a return to, of course, tangible assets. That's why when Powell made those comments, gold soared on those comments, and the U.S. dollar has now hit its lowest point since 2024. So I think, and we haven't even slashed rates yet. That hasn't even happened yet. So I think it's going to be a very interesting moment for a lot of these junior producers from uranium to gold to silver, all of those guys. So thank you for that.
Okay.
All right. Any more? Here we got one more here. I get it. We're almost at the end here. Just relax, everybody. Just relax. Darcy, thank you so much for your super chat.
Sneak Z, thank you for that super chat. That's really appreciated. Thank you so much.
Christian Zimmerman says Clayton is right. Hemp grows near everywhere. So thank you guys.
Oh, well, that wasn't Clayton. That was
David and Philip.
No, the viewer who said it. And David and Philip seem to know a lot about that.
That's right. Yes.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, where we're from, a little town called Napanee, Indiana, they used to have hemp fields everywhere. So like you'd still have hemp growing in the ditches, and it was called ditchweed because people would go pick it and smoke it.
Oh.
But it was really bad.
Okay.
As someone points out, George Washington used to grow hemp. Yes.
Yep.
Anyway. All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining. Go ahead.
I was going to say, didn't he have a hemp tooth? Or was that wood?
What?
He had a wooden. I think he had a wooden tooth.
It was wood. Yeah, I was
tooth.
just kidding.
A hemp tooth.
Okay. All right, that's going to do it for us today. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to handle this.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes this week. I saw all of them, and I was tickled pink. So let's get off to another great year, guys. We're busy studying for you. We work really hard to deserve you as our audience. So we'll see you back here live next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. Have a safe holiday weekend.